Psalm 27 is the psalm for these days of awe, and it asks just one thing, Achat Shalati, that we be able to dwell in the house of the holy forever. Which begs the question, what is the house of the holy? I love the BHA sanctuary, even though I haven't been there in quite a while, but I don't think that's the house of the holy. And I've been to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, and that's an incredible place, but I don't think that's really the house of the holy. And even these woods and forests where I feel so at home, I don't think those are entirely the house of the holy either. I think the house of the holy is ultimately that place in our own memory, in our own heart, where we feel safe and warm, where we feel embraced by the fullness of divine presence, even if we wouldn't articulate it in those words, even if we don't quite remember it, it's so far back in our unconscious memory. But these days of awe are a journey of tshuva, a journey of return to a place we've been, with more fullness and more complexity. And we'll talk more about that, but the first of the shofar blasts is the Tekiyah, that full blast, that blast of shalem, of completeness, of fullness, that enables us to feel shalom, or peace. In just a moment, Cantor Ellen is going to lead us in the chanting of Achat Shalati. And while she does, I invite you to conjure in your mind, conjure in your consciousness, that place where you feel warm and safe, that place where you feel protected, that place that is for you the house of the holy. After Ellen leads us in the chanting, we'll hear from BHA member Donna Minkowitz reflecting on her own personal sense of the holy. Donna is an award-winning journalist who lives here in Beacon with her wife.
Achat Shalati me'et Adonai, Ota avakesh. Achat Shalati me'et Adonai, Ota avakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai, kol yamei chayai, lachasot benoam, benoam Adonai, ulvaker vehechalo. Lachasot benoam, benoam Adonai, ulvaker vehechalo. Achat Shalati me'et Adonai, Ota avakesh. Achat Shalati me'et Adonai, Ota avakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai, kol yamei chayai, lachasot benoam, benoam Adonai, ulvaker behechalo. Lachazot benoam, benoam Adonai, ulvaker behechalo.
Hi, I want to talk to you about my own experience of the holy. I've been experiencing the world as deeply holy since I was about 9 years old. And when I say I've experienced it as holy, I don't mean I have always experienced it as safe or welcoming. On the contrary, when I first felt the holiness of the world, It was at a time when my childhood family life had gotten frightening. I don't know if it was primarily as a means of escape that I first perceived the universe at around 9 years old as beautifully, deeply holy in itself, shot through with a radiant joy that made me happy. I knew that something would always continue to exist, no matter what happened, and that fact made me happy too. J.R.R. Tolkien was once writing about the accusation that fantasy literature was escapist, and he said, "Why should a man be scorned if, finding himself in prison, he tries to get out and go home? Or if, when he cannot do so, he thinks and talks about other topics than jailers and prison walls?" So I think it was for me when I was a kid. And I believe it was comforting for me to experience something like the beauty and the self-healing constancy of the universe at a time when my family life was violent and the opposite of grounding. I have sometimes felt disturbed when considering this dichotomy, both then and now, I think. Sometimes I've wondered if the more ecstatic side of my religious feelings was just an artifact of traumatic dissociation. Literally a kind of mechanical response of the psyche, a clinical symptom of the urge to get out. But now I think that was the wrong question to ask, because the fact of the matter is that in my childhood at least, my sense of the holy did ground me, and if it was a response of my psyche, I think it was a profoundly healthy one. More recently, at 56, I still feel holiness often, but I no longer feel like I'm escaping anything when I feel those sensations. Instead, I feel more like I'm going deeply into something, more deeply into the world or into more intimacy with life, rather than finding a way out. It is a privilege to be able to go more deeply into life without fear, and I am very grateful for it. Shana Tova.